Thank you. Okay, finally, welcome everybody again. So I was asked together with Henk to tell you something about the Dutch system and also share with you the success factors and some of the challenges that we see there. So first, this is me. I work at the umbrella organization of the agricultural collectives in the Netherlands. Actually, behind me in this picture is the office. It's in Utrecht, the center of the country, because we are a nationwide organization for all the collectives. And there I work, amongst other things, as a project leader for Contracts 2.0. That means I am coordinating the contract innovation labs that we have in the Netherlands. We have two, which I will tell you more about later. And I'm also helping to coordinate the policy innovation lab, and I do that together with Wageningen University. And my part of the presentation is to share a little bit of the history of the implementation of the collective approach in the Netherlands and the insights that we gained through the contract innovation labs. After that, Henk will tell you more about his insights in success factors and challenges outside of the project that he has seen as a board member, because he's a board member of Boeren Natuur, and as an active farmer and board member in the region. Okay. So first of all, I think it's important to have a little bit of background information. So our system for a collective approach to agri-environmental schemes only exists since 2016. And before that, there were individual contracts between the farmers and the government. And there were several reasons why people weren't satisfied with this contract shape. Um, First of all, it was found that there was too much burden of administration for the government because they had to take care of thousands of individual contracts. There was no spatial cohesion of measures because the subsidy was given out on a first come, first served basis. Um, there was uncertain quality of measures because, as people have explained it to me, I mean, I only work here since 2018, so I am fully in the collective system reality. But farmers were given the contract, they had to carry it out, but there wasn't much advice for them on how to do it. So biodiversity numbers were still dropping, and also the farmers themselves weren't satisfied. They found the contract to be too bureaucratic. So too expensive and too ineffective in short. And we had the situation that in several regions of the country, farmers were already helping each other in informal ways, in associations that had to do with carrying out measures for nature conservation. And so 6 years ago, 7 years ago, these associations and the government together decided to formalize the local groups by making them the final beneficiary of the subsidy scheme. And then it started to look something like this. We had the little local groups were formalized into 40 regional collectives. It's quite small, but in the middle picture of the map of the country, you can see the lines, the regions that they take care of as a collective. And in order to participate in the environmental scheme called ANLB, it stands for Agricultural Nature and Land Management, so I'll call it ANLM in English. In order to participate in that, you have to be a member of the collective. And now we have 40 collectives that have individual contracts with 11,000 farmers, and each collective has one contract with the local provincial government. And a collective is a group, an association of farmers. Usually, many collectives also have people with an ecological background working for them. Together, they coordinate measures on their individual farms at a landscape scale. Um, and it's important to know that the measures are paid on income for gram basis. And this is a diagram that I stole from Nicolas. So you may have seen it before, but I thought he nicely put it together that the provinces are responsible for setting the goals. So what goals need to be reached in according to nature management plans. They say where measures can be, where contracts can be given out, and then the collectives are responsible for shaping that in the region with the local farmers. So we call this a front door, back door principle, and we show this picture because it's quite unique, I think, because we have a collective contract, but we also have individual contracts. And yeah, this is what it looks like. I think maybe Henk will want to elaborate on it a little bit more later, maybe in the Q&A. And I thought I would also show you the IT system that we use for contracts. The bottom right is the IT system that the collectives use, and it's a GIS-based system. So if a farmer wants to make a contract for carrying out, let's see what he's doing. He's using a particular type of environmentally friendly manure in this picture. He says, I'm going to do it on this field, and then the advisor writes it down in the IT system, and that way it makes the contract. And now on the top left, you see the habitat delineation as made by the province of Zuid-Holland, where in the colored areas, the collective is allowed to give out contracts. And for example, the brown color means only contracts related to cropland birds. The green one only related to meadowland birds. So this is kind of what it looks like. So the province says this is where you can do it, and the collective goes to find together with farmers the optimum way of realizing it. Now, here we have an infographic that was just recently finished that I thought would be nice to add. You can see all the layers that are involved in this contract and the many activities and actors. If you want to look at it more, you can find it on our website, but I thought it's a nice overview. So this is the system in short. In Contracts 2.0, it was an opportunity for us to investigate what the farmers that are involved thought of working in this system. And so we have 2 case studies in the Netherlands. We're working with Naturrijk Limburg, NALI in short. They are the biggest collective in terms of members and budget. This is the highlighted collective in the southeast. They have lots of different types of land use. So for contracts, we decided to focus in a small area in the very south of the country. And we had about a group of 10 farmers, and we asked them, give us the strengths and weaknesses of the system. And here are some of the things that they thought were the most important things. They said that compared to the individual system, there's lower overhead costs. They experience more flexibility. As a group, they find that they have a better relationship between themselves as practitioners and the policy makers. They learn from each other, which means that they have more motivation and they have fun. I mean, that's also very important. Weaknesses that they identified of the system is that that actually it's a really big success, and there's just not enough budget to accommodate everybody that wants to participate. And they find that the controls, they are focused on target species. So the number of target species that you find in the area is used as an indicator of success of the measures. But they find that this may not always be fair, because the habitat quality can be increased by the like the overall quality can be increased by the measures without these target species necessarily being there. They still experience too many controls. I'm talking solely from the farmer's perspective here. So this was what we found in Limburg, and we have another case study in the northeast. It's a very different situation. It's a smaller collective. The area is mainly arable agriculture. Henk is actually from there, so maybe he can talk to you about it. And we found similar strengths and weaknesses, but also some extra. So I've highlighted those. They find the farmers working there found that a big strength is that they experience less administration than before, because that's being taken care of by the collective. They also think that the access to advice is a big strength. What they find as a weakness is that the basis of the contract is remuneration on income forgone, and they would really like to see a reward structure, but that's difficult, as it is a cap subsidy. So these are the strengths and weaknesses that were identified by the farmers in different case studies. And then the methodology of the project was to envision together a dream landscape. So where would you like to go together in 2040? And we did this with an illustrator. And here you see the results of the visions for 2040. And there were some similarities between their locations, mainly that they hope for multifunctional landscapes where farmers and nature can thrive both, so that there's economic quality of life, but also ecological quality of life. We also found out quite quickly that just one contract, one subsidy scheme is not gonna realize this. So there has to be different kinds of contracts in place, like for example, value chain contracts. And we, the group of farmers, think that that if the scheme had wider goals than just target species, this would be more easily done. Other obstacles to overcome for these visions were that there's a lot of different claims on the landscape in the Netherlands at the moment, because we want biodiversity, we want housing, we want electricity, energy. So all of that is being asked of, and we want food, obviously. So all of that is being asked of the countryside, and there's lots of conflicting views on it. So yeah, it would mean that we all, as stakeholders, need to come together and share a vision. And another big obstacle that the farmers identified was that these visions sometimes in the political landscape don't last longer than policy cycles, but they as farmers need a long-term vision. So that's also an obstacle. So these are the things that we found in the case studies, and now I would like to hand over to Henk, because he has lots of experience, also outside of the case studies. So Henk, the floor is yours. I will keep moving the slides for you.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for sharing some thoughts I have about the system, sometimes about the case study, but also a lot around that, and about the agro-environmental scheme. Just about myself, I'm a farmer in the north of the Netherlands, where also ANOF, who is participating as a case study, is a group of farmers, a collective. There's an organic arable farm. I was 14 years a board member there, which I finished last March, but I'm still involved as a board member in the umbrella organization Boer Natuur. And besides that, I'm also active in the Farmers Union for the 3 northern provinces. So I do several things. Besides that farm, I'm married to 2 little children, and my wife has a farm in the middle of the Netherlands, where my wife and children are situated, which is more a sustainable farm. It's not organic certified, where we have apples, kiwi fruit, but a lot of people visiting that farm. So when we are abroad and my wife is asked, what are you doing there? We sometimes say we farm people, of the number of people that come to the farm, and we explain what we do. On the next slide, I will be telling you more about the success factors of the collectives. And that is mainly based about something we have locally known in the Netherlands as Noberschap, which means so much as a small community that is able to sustain themselves, helping each other out in difficult situations, a sort of cohesion. That makes a totally different system to what we were used to, where the government said they shall do something. Now the system is changed to you may. And that's a great difference, because you are in dialogue, talking around the kitchen table when you have a problem, instead of chasing each other around in bureaucracy and lawyers sending letters to each other, which is totally different. We just sit down, talk about it. And I think that's something that is challenging in the whole system from EU perspective, where they say, well, trust is very good, but control is better. And I think it's very important to give trust to the individual farmers and to the collectives to work together. And one example, maybe to explain something like that, what Lisa already said, the province together with the collectives, they aim for a certain area where they want to give the agro-environmental schemes the plots. The collective, when there is a shortage of money, will select where the best areas are, but first asking all the farmers, when you want to apply, come to us, and then we can make a decision where the money is spent best. And that where it's spent best is also about the configuration in the landscape. So how many farmers in a certain area want to attend the scheme. So when one farmer in a very good spot wants to join, but all his neighbors doesn't want to do a thing, the chance is very high that he will not be chosen to do the environmental schemes. So what happens is there was, in a certain year, there was money. There was an area where we, as a collective, didn't think we could raise enough farmers to join. One farmer was very positive about it, and he made all his colleagues enthusiastic. So there were 2-3 cars coming to the collective together. They came into the room and said, well, we would like to apply. We have thought about it. We have discussed about it. This is our plan. We want on this field, we want on the left side. On that field, we want on the right side. This is what we want here. This one there. And in total and in general, they had spoken with some ecological people who had advised them. So they came with a complete plan. The only thing we had to do is take a ribbon around it and say yes. So that is one example of how it can work when people on social level work together and make a good plan. What's very important also in the success of the collectives, there are a farmer board. So the board members of the collectives are often consisting of farmers, but also within the organization, people have to have their roots within the farming community. Not all the time, but they have to think and know how a farmer will think, so the farmer can identify with them when they are speaking. Of course, sometimes there's a financial impulse, sometimes there are people from ecological perspective or from science, but they have to understand why a farmer would like to apply, what his situation is, and why. So very important to within your organization have a farmer perspective. Then a farmer has to be in control. What I mean by that is there has to be a board where the farmers are situated in, I think, in majority, and also within the collective there's an annual meeting of all the people participating in the schemes where they decide when there's a course and the course has to be more to the left or more to the right. The annual meeting will decide what to do and how to work with that, and giving the trust to the board to set those goals. Very important is within this thing is more money on the farmyard. I think that is also one of the success factors why it is working. Beforehand, there was a lot of control, government regulations, and about approximately from every euro coming from the EU, there was 42% of bureaucracy on top of within that €1, so only 58 cents would land in the farmyard. By using this system, that is reduced dramatically, between 10 to 20% of the total cost is in bureaucracy, so that's control, but also the ecological data harvesting, selecting the right areas and developing everything. The IT cost has been dropped dramatically, so there is more money within the farmyard. The only thing that it is made possible, that on state level, there were very motivated officers, and also on EU level, that saw this system and would like to give it a chance. So I think that is very important to have the officers in place that embrace this system. On the farm level, there was also very much motivation because of the need for less red tape, so to say, the local cohesion in the system, and almost blind trust towards the collectives. When we can go to the implementation of a collective approach on the next slide, well, I say it basically bottom up. The farmers decide what to go together with the collective. The collective decides together with the province which birds or plants or species are very in need of support, and what is the best measurements to do that. And when there's not a good measurement for the field, the collective can apply to make a new birdland protection scheme, so to say, to put a new plot into the field, which is proven by pilots that is working. So it creates a shared responsibility, and by that a motivation that totally works. A few recommendations in general from what I saw. I've been doing presentations a lot in Germany, but also in Hungary and for France. There's a lot of different contexts, different systems, and our system works in the Dutch context. We are very open. I can recall about 9 years, I think, ago, I was in Germany and I was explaining what we were doing and planning to do within the Netherlands, and the policy maker just looked at me in disbelief. We cannot do that in Germany. And I just asked, why can we not do it? He said two things. Our farmers are not ready and able to do that. And the second thing, when I implementate this system, all my staff is out of work, which was true. And that's why I said on a previous slide, a lot of work done by state policymakers and officers is not necessary anymore, because it goes down from a bottom-up situation to the collectives. They can do it cheaper, easier than the policymakers. So it's also a reduction in total cost, or otherwise saying it's a better way of spending the money. But very important, what is the culture and how is the local system based? Second thing, accentuate the role of the farmers. I think that's very important in the decision making, but also making it bottom up. And what I personally found in my own area, there wasn't a lot of agriculture and nature conservation in the beginning, so to say, but the forward farmers, and I use that expression sometimes, so to say, a lighthouse farmer, where the farmers look up to a farmer in their area. When he does something, within 1, 2, or 3 years, other farmers will also start applying that system. When they started and they were asked to join, and when they were joining and when they were positive, all the other farmers would automatically come, because when he is doing that, it cannot be wrong. It can be good. He can calculate very good. So it's a good way of making an income, of diversifying your farm. So that's why I use the lighthouse farmers, that stick out and influence all the others and guide them, sort of. Make sure that you collect your data. What we sort of had within the pilot stages, the government wanted to test the system, and we as collectives and groups of farmers wanted to select the data to build a case why we wanted to change it. I'm very happy that we stuck to our own plan to collect the data, even though government didn't want it or needed it or was willing to pay for it. So whatever happens, keep doing your way, and to say it in the words of Frank Sinatra, I did it my way. I think that is very important as a collective. Do it your way, that suits you best, in what suits your farmers, to do the best thing ecologically, but also for agriculture. Get all the stakeholders on the table, sort of say the round table. Everyone should have a seat, although they sometimes what they say is contradictional to agriculture, but you will never ever find a system that is 100% farm friendly or 100% ecological responsible or 100% easy to control by government, but meet each other somewhere in the middle and make a compromise, but at least hear each other out. And what we found in the last couple of years, that we all agree on 95% of what we do, but we spend almost all our time discussing about the last 5% we disagree about. So be open, and the last point about that is also the transparency. Be transparent about the money, the process, how you want to select data about the success factors, and be open about that, but be also open about failure. When something is going wrong or different, share that. And the end results, also on social aspects, who is applying, what they are doing, be open about that, ecological, and the effect. So position yourself around that table in a very vulnerable position, but make sure that you keep the steering wheel in your hands, and not end up in the end of the bus in the back, because in that case you don't you can shout to the driver where you want to go, but when he going to the left, you're going to the left. So keep your hands on the steering wheel. Then in the challenges, in the opportunities we see, well, they were broadening the goals, and that is very important. But first, do the things you are meant to do, and when it's proven, then discuss with all the other stakeholders. And in best case, all the stakeholders say this is the way to go. But when 95% of the stakeholders, or the most important stakeholders, say we do something extra, do that. And look if you can broaden the goals, which makes it more difficult. But there's also more money, so more money equals more measurements in the field, and from that, not only maybe water will will be better, but also maybe birds have a better nesting facility or a cleaner environment or more landscape plots to go to. The agriculture environmental scheme was firstly targeted to biodiversity, mainly birds and meadowlands. And what I said before, we wanted that those individual motivated officers in the state and EU level, they saw that it could work. They asked for the room within the EU, and they got that room, and then they had to run, because then they had to keep up with us, and we had to keep up with them with implementing the big picture. The great thing for all the people in Europe that are trying to do similar things, they can learn and don't have to make the same mistakes we did, or they can copy paste the successful things and forget the rest. But keep within your own system what's best working for you, and then slowly, that's what I think, add water, landscape, climate, energy, and stuff like that towards all those goals. They are much harder to grasp and to influence. Although birdland strips in birds, you can do whatever you want, but the bird has his own opinion, and he's coming or he's not coming. From year to year, it differs also. So the beneficiary to multiple goals is very good because it enhances each other. But be clear what your objective is. Make no concessions about diluting your individual goals. It is not a one-size-fits-all mentality that's going to bring you far. Make sure that you don't get goals from governments locally, state or EU brought on your shoulders with too little money. And that too little money is also something you heard before. And now is the system income forgone. It should be a rewarding for a service you're giving to society. Then you're paid for everything you put in, your time, your effort, your land. And income forgone is a strange system when you do something for society. The last thing I wanted to add is in the dream landscapes, Lisa showed you. For 2040, you saw two areas. One is in the south, Saudal, and one is in the north, in Groningen. There's a big difference in the landscape. In the northern part, it is large-scale agriculture, so big plots of land, easy to put on a map. You click on in the IT system, and you have 5 hectares or 7 hectares, or maybe 10 hectares of a field. Or a field margin is quite big there. If you go to the south, there is a lot of hedgerows, individual trees, small things in the landscape. And as you can imagine, you pay maybe 50 or 100 euro to an individual farmer for a hedgerow, but it is the same amount of work to put it on the map, to sit with that farmer on the table. And all those things we have to check, all the checks and balances, all the control, all those things, they are the same. Even though you pay one farmer maybe 150 euros and the other farmer you pay maybe 7,000 or 20,000 euros. The collectives are paid on percentage based. So there's a percentage of the total turnover which goes to the farmer. So that's very small. And I saw also from the province of Limburg, the policymaker giving a comment in the chat, where she was giving her thoughts about the problem that the cost is high. Well, the system is started to bring the cost down, so that is still a very big motivation. But we learned throughout the years that the cost is going up by the need for control on also EU as provinces level. So if there is more trust within EU and provinces level, we can keep the costs very low to approximately, I think, roughly 20% or something, maybe a little bit more if there's some extra checks, but this is substantially cheaper than the 40-50% that it was before. Knowing that large scale blocks is easier, and small scale hedgerows and stuff like that is very, very expensive. I think that is the last part, and I give it back to Lisa. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Just my information and our website, and I think now we go back to Christine.